Hello and welcome to or welcome back to the channel. Today I have a really exciting video. I know I've said that before, but it's really exciting for me. I finally got a new camera and okay, I've had it for 6-ish weeks, I would say, but I wanted to get it and use it and try it out and all that before I actually make this video. So I can give you a very clear objective of it, at least at this point. So my previous camera was the Nikon D3400. It is a crop sensor DSLR camera, and I have been wanting to replace it for quite some time. It is a wonderful camera. I have loved this camera. It's a great camera. But as I have gotten into photography more and more, I lean more towards wildlife photography. That's just what I enjoy the most. I do other types of photography, yes, but that is like my most predominant, what I'm doing the most often, pretty much on a daily basis kind of photography. And I really, really love it. So I honestly feel, even though this is a wonderful camera, I don't feel that it is the best choice for wildlife. And so I did a lot of homework. I've been researching. I've been wanting to get a new camera, a better for wildlife camera, more updated camera for quite a while now. And I finally got it. And it is the Nikon Z50 Mark II. So it's still a crop sensor, but it is mirrorless now. I will do some comparisons of the two cameras. And be sure to stick around because I'm going to share 5 things I didn't expect about this camera, as well as one surprise downside I have with this camera. So make sure you stay tuned all the way through to hear that information. I will also be sharing with you 5 reasons why I chose mirrorless over DSLR. Hi guys, I just want to interrupt your video for one quick moment and ask a favor. YouTube is telling me that the majority of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So if that's you, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, I would so appreciate if you would subscribe. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you hit that bell icon, it will notify you when I upload videos in the future. I really do appreciate your support and it helps me continue to make videos just like this. Thank you so much. Now back to your video. So the number one reason that I went with mirrorless is, above all else, is the silent shutter. You can have a silent shutter mode on this camera. And I'm surprised I don't see more people in wildlife photography talking about this, but the shutter sound disturbs wildlife so much. And I was constantly in this dilemma where, okay, I spot wildlife and I'm not in the best position, but I would love to get a shot right now to have at least something, maybe it's salvageable, and then get in a better position and take another picture. That's much better. But if it moved away before I got to the better angle, at least I would have this other picture. But if I take that first picture, the wildlife is going to hear the shutter and react, maybe run away, definitely change its position, that sort of thing. And so every single encounter, I had this same struggle. And I'm really surprised I don't hear anyone else talking about it. So now I can, with a silent shutter, I can see wildlife, get my first shot, if nothing else, then try to position myself to a better angle and get a better shot if I'm still able to. That is what I always wanted to do on this camera. And it very rarely ever worked out the way I wanted it to. And again, I'm just so surprised that I don't hear anyone else talking about this. I can't be the only one with this frustration. Reason number 2 that I chose this camera was this lens. I will do a separate video talking about this lens. I wanted this lens so bad. This is the 180-600 from Nikon, and it's Z-mount, so you can't put this on a DSLR camera. And I really, really wanted this lens. Reason number 3 I chose mirrorless is because, especially being a crop sensor mirrorless, I have access to every Nikon lens, pretty much. Whether it's DSLR or mirrorless, whether it's crop sensor or full sensor, I can put them all on here. With a DSLR, you can only use DSLR lenses. And if you had a full sensor DSLR, you can only use full sensor DSLR lenses. Whereas at least with a crop sensor DSLR, you can use crop or full sensor. You have extra lenses at your disposal. But this gives you like so many lens options. It's just outstanding in my opinion. And again, that's something I don't hear many people talk about, and I feel like we should be talking about it. People should be aware. Because yes, I got the F to Z Mark II adapter that goes on this camera and allows me to put any DSLR lens on here. So on this end, it's the Z mount, and on this end is the F mount, and it just goes right in between. Moving right along. Reason number 4 is focus modes, or rather subject detection focus modes that is available in these mirrorless cameras. I actually discovered this and I couldn't believe it, because I have been saying for years with this camera, you push focus. There could be a bird on a branch in a tree, and you tell it focus, and it might focus on a leaf on the tree. It might focus on a branch. It might focus on something in the foreground, something in the background. It may eventually, as you keep telling it to focus, it will eventually, hopefully, come around to the bird that you want. And I've always said forever, I wish there was some way you could communicate with the camera and tell it, I'm looking for birds. And then it would know. Because it honestly, it's not the camera's fault. The camera has no idea what you want to focus on. It's just going to randomly pick things. And every time you tell it refocus, it's going to pick something else. This is amazing. There are a bunch of subject detection modes. There can be people, there can be products. If you do product reviews and you hold them out to the camera, there's, animals, birds. I think there's planes and vehicles. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is amazing because you tell it what you are looking for. And it's actually kind of funny. Just a couple of days ago, there was a red-shouldered hawk in a tree, and I got a picture of it. Its back was to me and it was turned around, like its head was turned around looking at me. But when I first spotted it, its back was to me and I couldn't see its face. And the camera was struggling to focus on it because there's a lot of branches and there's all this stuff. So it was kind of like when I used this camera, it wasn't sure what I wanted to focus on. And then while I was trying to focus it, the hawk turned his head around and looked at me. And as soon as it caught that eyeball, bam, it focused right on the hawk. Amazing. So I love it. I have heard some people say it's cheating, it's too easy. I see people say the camera is just doing the job for you. It's really not. Like, you are still in control. You have just communicated to the camera what you want prioritized in focusing. And I think that's a great thing. And number 5 is just, I find in myself a resistance to change, especially with technology. And so I was kind of naturally inclined to resist this. I love DSLRs. I love that they have, the actual shutter. There's a mirror. Like, it makes sense. Like, you understand what's going on. And this is all kind of an electronic digital representation of that. I feel like I'm part purist and I love this, but there's enough of this that I love it. And I try to lay down my resistance and stop fighting things. And I do feel like this is the future going forward for the most part. It'll be a while before these are gone. I think maybe they'll never completely go, but it's possible. But I don't want to just let my natural resistance that's there hold me back. I have already seen it's getting harder to get lenses for DSLRs. In some cases, there's less variety of lenses. They're putting all their efforts into mirrorless. And I feel like that's where it's headed. That's where it's going. I don't want to let my natural inclination to resist that hold me back. So there's my 5 reasons why I chose mirrorless. So I will definitely say that side by side, taking photographs with these cameras, this one is just far more wildlife shots are much sharper and crisper and just even, and it's not just the new lens. You could say like, oh, it's because you have a 180 to 600 lens. When I first started using it, I was still using my 18 to 300 lens that I always used on this camera for wildlife, because I was wearing a harness where I carry my camera, and I'm going to do a video talking all about that in the future. So I don't want to go into it too much, but I was unable to attach the lens foot onto that harness. And so until I got a new harness where I could do that, I could only attach it from the camera body, and that meant I had to use my 18-300 lens. So for the first few weeks of having this camera, I was still using my old lens, and the pictures were already just so much better looking, just sharper, crisper, just amazing. And that's not to say I never got photos like that with this camera. I did, but it was not the majority for sure. It was a lot fewer percentage wise. This one is just so, and even the clearest ones, I don't know if they're quite as sharp and clear as this one. I actually wish I could say I've used more DSLRs to have more comparison, but this is the only DSLR I have used. So, and this is the only mirrorless I've used. So this is the only comparison I can make, but I do kind of wish I had used some other DSLRs to give me a better feel all the way around of DSLRs rather than just this specific one. I also feel like even though there's so much sharpness and clarity with this, there's also sort of a creaminess to it that I have a hard time explaining, but I really love the look of the photos I get with this camera. I've also heard a lot of people say that these mirrorless cameras can handle much higher ISOs without getting super grainy. I have taken some early morning when the sun is barely rising that are super grainy. They're not salvageable, which I've had plenty of those with this camera, but that's the only ones I've seen with such a high ISO that I could not salvage it. So I do think most of the time, because I keep it on manual and I control my shutter and my aperture, and I leave ISO on auto ISO. On this camera, I did cap it. I did have a limit. I don't remember what it is at the moment, but I found my limit where, okay, I could keep the grain out. But I think it depended on what I was photographing, where I capped it. It did vary quite a bit. But with this one, I have not yet capped it. I haven't had a need to. I was kind of debating if I should, but I think I'm just going to wait and see what level is just too much. And so far, it hasn't been a problem. And I did ask in some photography groups what other people were capping it at. And a lot of people had numbers. They were very high numbers compared to what I'm used to with this camera. But a lot of people just said it hasn't been an issue, so I haven't put a cap on it yet. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still looking at that, learning that. I don't want to just cap it and maybe miss a shot because it's too dark. When I don't really know where that upper limit is that I want to stop it at. So I'm still learning. It's still kind of newish to me and I'm still learning, but I definitely do see that mirrorless cameras handle high ISOs much better. Obviously, video capabilities are much better in mirrorless cameras. Now, I can't speak to this too much because I never used video on this camera. Actually, I did early on a couple times, but because you can't use an external microphone on this camera, it was really kind of pointless. It was also got to a point where it just would not focus. Like you'd get it in focus and then you'd start the video and it would just go out of focus and never focus again. So I really just didn't use video on this camera at all. Whereas with this one, I'm using it just for wildlife right now. I'm just getting little snips here and there to put in my shorts if you watch my shorts. And then some other shorter clips of birds. But that's really all, and other animals. That's really all I'm using it for at this time. I'm hoping in the future to get a computer that can handle editing videos. My computer right now is old. It can handle editing photos, but not videos. So I edit my videos on my iPad, and I don't think my iPad can handle video from this. So when I get a newer computer and then a second camera, I already know what I want, but I'm not going to share yet. That will be coming in the future. But yes, so then I can be here with a camera talking about it and filming with the other camera. So that is my goal. That's what I'm working on. And by supporting this channel, you can help me get to that goal faster if you so wish. But yes, these are amazing with video. And there's lots of options. I love to actually film the birds in slow motion straight out of the camera. And the focus is amazing because you can see it struggling. Like I'll start the video and it's not on it yet. And then boom, it pulls it into focus. And it's really fun for me to watch it do that. And yes, you can hook external microphones on this too. One of my favorite things with this is the flip screen. So when I'm not using my camera or the screen, I actually turn it around and it's completely enclosed inside, which is great. Like, it's fully protected. But you can bring it out. You can have it out like this. If you're doing like a selfie mode, you can put it like this, and you can angle it all different ways. I really have only done it when you can also just put it against the back where it's exactly like this one now, but this one doesn't move. I actually really like it if I'm doing something really low to the ground, because at my age, I don't want to be crawling on the ground. So you can put it down, you know, I'll usually put it off to the side here and angle it wherever I need, and then put it way down on the ground, down as low as I can. I usually, you know, I'll squat down or get down on my knees, but this will allow me to have a much better view of getting stuff really, really low. I love that. The hand grip on this one is actually a little bit deeper. This one's totally fine for me. But I think if you have bigger hands, especially for men with bigger hands, this one goes a little deeper. I think it could be really helpful in that situation. So if you've ever used this camera and you felt like it wasn't comfortable, it wasn't deep enough to get your fingers in there, this one is quite a bit deeper. Button layouts are pretty similar, pretty straightforward. I do love the ease of video. I can be here. I have back button focus on the AE-L, AF-L button. That's where I have my back button focus. And then, so I'm mostly doing focus with my thumb and capturing the photos with my index finger. And then I will, if I'm in here and I want to switch to video, I just bring my index finger back and flip this switch. And then to start the video is right over here. Instead of taking pictures here, you take video here. So I just find those. I can honestly just find them with my fingers. With a little practice it took, and I can do that. The only one that's really different is the delete button is way over here. Whereas on this one, it's down here. It's like everything was right here with my right thumb. But I think that could be good because that will keep you from accidentally deleting stuff, perhaps. So when I was doing research on comparing these two cameras, they mentioned that the battery life is better in the D3400. And I have to say, in my experience, that is not the case. I don't know if there's something wrong with my D3400. This thing drains batteries like crazy. And so I am always just, when I walked out the door, fresh battery, and I usually had one in my pocket as well. So I'm definitely carrying that habit over. Just when I walk out the door, fresh battery. I have not had any issues except very early on. So this goes into a sleep mode if you haven't looked in it for a while, and that's to save your battery life. And so early on, I was going through settings and it was like, I don't know if it was set for 30 seconds or a minute, it would go to sleep. And I put it for, I think the longest is 5 minutes. And so I set it for that. And my first day out, I totally drained my battery like before I was done walking, it was dead. And I was like, wow, this battery life is terrible. But at the same time, there were still moments where I picked it up and it was asleep. So setting it for longer didn't really help. So what I have done is, as I'm getting my camera, it's usually in my harness. It's like this actually, because it's in my harness. As I'm grabbing it, my thumb is hitting my back button focus. I think pretty much any button will wake it up, but that's just the one I've been going to. As I grab it, I push that. And then by the time it's to my eye, it's on, it's awake. So that's just a habit I've ingrained to make sure that when it hits my eye, there's no delay. And I highly recommend that. And so then I went ahead and put it back to the shortest. I think it's 30 seconds. It will go to sleep. And that saves my battery. And it doesn't really matter because as I grab it, I wake it up before it hits my eye. And I see so many people online talking about whether the DSLR lenses really work well on these cameras or not. And so far, I have 4 DSLR Nikon lenses, and they have all worked perfectly on this camera. I have seen some people with third-party lenses like Sigma and Tamron who've had issues with it. I don't have any of those, so I really can't speak to that, but I can tell you all of my Nikon DSLR lenses have worked perfectly on this camera. So I'm so happy about that. That I love those 4 lenses that I have, and I plan to keep them. One thing I wasn't really expecting was how much customization they have on here. There are 3 presets. There's U1, U2, U3 that you can set up however you want. And then there's like the My menu where, you know, you go through your different menus, and then you have a My menu where you can put the things that you use the most in there. So you can go right there and find it really quickly. And initially I was like, I don't know what I would do with any of that. I don't plan to use that. But again, that's my resistance to accepting change and new stuff. It's just in me. And so I immediately corrected myself and said, let me stay open-minded. It's just not something I'm used to. Doesn't mean I don't need it. Doesn't mean I can't use it. And so I kind of just sat back quietly and thought about what I could do with these. And so as of now, I have U1 set up for the majority of wildlife, you know, perched birds, sitting animals, maybe running animals, that sort of thing. Things that are, but it's most wildlife I'm going to do on my U1. My U2, I have set up for birds in flight because that has been challenging. And that was kind of surprising because on this camera, I pretty much used the same settings for both perched birds and birds in flight, and I was fine. And then on this one, I was really struggling to get the birds in flight. So I've done a lot of research. I'm still honing it in. I don't want to share my settings until I'm sure I've got them really narrowed down. And then on U3, I set it up for landscape photography because I do that too sometimes. And then outside of that, I can just throw it into manual mode and do whatever at any moment. But those are the 3 that I do the most, and I can just quickly, especially, so if I'm out on my walk and there's birds, I'm taking pictures of birds, and then there's a bird flying in the sky, I can just flip it to U2 and I'm ready to go. But initially I thought, you know, it's your exposure triangle, and I can switch that stuff really fast and easy. It's actually easier on this camera than on this one, because on this one, when you're in manual mode, this back dial does your shutter speed, and then you have to push another button. I don't even remember which one it is. And that same dial to do your aperture. So doing aperture was harder on the fly with this camera. On this one, the back one does your shutter, and there's a front one that does your aperture. So this one is even easier to very quickly change your settings. But I realized it's not just for your exposure triangle, it's all the settings that are included in these presets. So your focus modes, your subject detection, how many photos you wanted to capture with one press of the shutter, because there's options for that. It's absolutely down to every detail you can set. You can have it in that preset. So once I realized that, then I saw the value in it, and I decided to capture, especially with my struggles with getting birds in flight. I felt like I needed to change focus modes to get that. And I can't just be like, oh, there's a bird in the sky. Hold on, let me go in here and change my focus modes. It's going to be gone before I get that done. So this is actually very valuable to me. And then I did kind of look at, what am I using the most? What am I wishing? Like sometimes I'll just think, if I knew where to find that setting, and I would do something right now. So those things, I put them all in my menu. It's not a whole lot in there, but it's stuff that I use all the time or I need to access very quickly. So that's actually been very useful as well. Okay, so as I promised in the beginning, 5 things I did not expect when I got this camera. Number 1 was that electronic viewfinder that goes to sleep. Like several times on my first couple of walks, you know, you pull it up and it's like, why is it black? Why is it black? Do I have the lens cap on? Like, no. What's going on? It's asleep. Saving the battery. Number two is that you really don't need to take test photos anymore. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I used to walk out the door, wherever I was gonna go photograph, I would take some test photos and review them and adjust my settings and take more test photos until I had it narrowed down. And with this electronic viewfinder, whether you're looking through the viewfinder or the screen, you're already seeing how it's going to capture it So you really don't have to take test photos. You can just be adjusting your settings while you're looking at it. That took me by surprise. I was not expecting that. That's actually kind of helpful. You don't have extra photos in there that you have to delete off. Number 3 was getting sharper images. I really was not expecting it to be that big of a difference. It's really amazing, and I really, really love it. Number 4 was the fact that it weighs more than the D3400. I keep hearing everyone going on about how mirrorless cameras weigh less. And someone asked me, like, it's lighter? You must like that, right? And I was like, actually, I don't know, because I have the 180-600 lens on it most of the time, which is quite a bit heavier. So the whole setup with camera and lens, my new setup versus my old setup, is definitely heavier. I thought it was just because of the lens, but I actually weighed these two cameras, and this camera just by itself is exactly 1 pound, the D3400. Whereas this camera all by itself is 1 pound, 2.9 ounces. So it's an extra 2.9 ounces. I don't know. I just keep hearing everyone talk about they're smaller, they're lighter. I guess it's a little bit flatter, but they're like, you get the white background, they're like the same height. They're pretty close in size. This one's just a little wider in this sense. Like the depth of it is a little bit more. This one's a lot more flat. But yeah, I can even feel it in my hand. This one is heavier. But that surprised me because everyone talks about mirrorless being smaller and lighter. And the 5th thing that really surprised me was how much I love the presets and the My Menu, the customization stuff. I really didn't expect, I didn't know it was going to have that. I didn't know what to do with it then. And I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, but I do. And finally, my one surprise downside that I promised you was the electronic viewfinder. I honestly don't really like it. It's taken me a while to get used to it. I love that you can just pick this up anytime. And there's no lens on here right now, but you can see light. You can see what's coming through at any time. It's off. It could be a dead battery, whatever. You could still look through it. And this one, it's essentially just a screen. It's no different than this screen, really. You just have 2 screens. There's just a little one in here because we're used to looking in there. And then there's the screen. And it just has a very different look and feel to it when you use it. And I don't know, that's probably been the hardest thing for me to get used to. I will accept it because there are so many other positive things about the camera, but it's the one thing I don't enjoy, the one thing I like the least, I guess, the one surprise downside. And if anyone was interested, the weights of my actual setups for when I go out on walks photographing wildlife, this one with the 18-300 lens on it weighs 2 pounds, 3.5 ounces. And this one with the 180-600 lens on it, 6 pounds, 2.4 ounces. So it's basically like wearing a weighted vest. People are rucking, right? You've heard of rucking? People go out with their weighted vests on. And so that's my 6-pound weighted vest. Just adds to my workout. So I hope this was helpful. I will have another video coming about the 180-600 lens, a video specifically about the adapter from the F mount to the Z mount. So stay tuned for those videos. And thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day and God bless you.